You just push everything on the floor.
Yay!
My daughter and I are doing art tutorials together. All right, we're going to do our usual response to comments, and I got a couple of serious ones, some really thoughtful ones to go over. But before that, I've figured out how to explain what we're doing here. My daughter and I, now that my hand's working, I want to get back drawing, but we wanted to learn how to do anime style, and I thought it would be really easy because it looks super simple. We were watching some of the tutorials about how they do their proportions, and I don't know, I guess all the years of classical Western style art is kind of, it's harder than I thought it would be. It's really hard to get the brain around the proportions, and I was really struggling getting the face proportions down. So this is about an hour and a half of us sketching together. My daughter was sitting right next to me with a sketch pad, and we were basically watching tutorials on YouTube and just kind of following along with them. So I have that, and it's sped up about 8 times, so it's not the most exciting content. And then the second half of the video, I'm doing some training. Oh man, this new boxing gym, I gotta be honest with you, this guy's a really, really serious trainer, and I guess he used to train with under Freddie Roach, and he was with Manny Pacquiao, amongst others. And they have a really, really strict no camera policy. And today I went in there, it was just my daughter and I, and my son, I'm sorry, Aiden, you were there too. And all I asked him was could I get a minute of me training with you with the pads? Because, I look really good when I'm in the ring with him, especially when he's coaching me. He makes me look way better than I do in the garage. And I thought it'd be really cool to show you guys like some of the stuff I'm actually doing. And he just wouldn't let me do it. And I told him, I was like, man, I do this YouTube channel. I'm trying to get content. The way he put it, basically he said, we can't just have people filming for obvious reasons, because when serious fighters come in here, the way he put it made it sound like I'm not good. Like, if people see me training in the gym and they see how awful I am, it's going to turn customers away, like serious customers. But he asked me permission to get footage of my kids training, and so he wants to promote that part of it, but he wants control over it, so he wants to do it himself. Okay, I have no problem with that, that's fine. But it's like, come on, man, hook a brother up. Like, I have to go there, train with you for an hour and a half with the kids, and then I gotta come home and do a second training just so I can have something to put on YouTube for my channel. And it's killing me. I'm doing 2-a-days. So I guess on the days that I do boxing, I'll come home and I'll work on like artwork and Warhammer stuff. So that'll be the compromise, because I can't box for an hour and a half there, and it's a serious workout. He's got us doing all the sit-ups and push-ups and all that crap that goes with it, like the jump rope. Like, for my old ass, it is way, way, way harder than I work at home. And then I come home, and then I'm just thrashed. So then I'm hitting the bag. I'm like, ugh, look lame as hell. And people are like, no, I'm actually doing pretty good, man. I wish I could get some footage of me in the ring. I'm looking pretty sharp in there. What can you do? I got a little short with him. I said, maybe I need to find a gym where they'll let me film. And he kind of looked at me. He's like, go for it. They're all going to be the same. All right, that didn't work. That backfired. But he does want to help with training. And I told him, I said, I'm your guy. I can help with strength training. I can help with that. You help me, maybe I help you. Well, we can work something out. This is how this works, maybe. So I'm kind of in his ear on that. He's going to buy some gym equipment. And I was like, bro, that's kind of my thing, I don't know. We'll see where it goes. You can see right here, I'm starting to get the face proportions down. These are so simple, these drawings. It's like, I can do like some pretty photorealistic artwork with a good pencil set and the right, I'm actually, like, I could do some really high-end work if I have the time and I really invest in it. And here I am trying to basically do stick figures, and I'm struggling with it. But my goal because I'm gonna draw me a big old boobied waifu. I want to do like Warhammer anime. How cool would that be? I don't know. It's just another style to have. I've always been interested in manga, and I never really tried to do their style of art, and it's really, really interesting. They have like a mathematical formula to how they do their proportions, and I'm going to learn it. All right, first comment, Josh Puff Tekken, and this is in response to painting Warhammer 40K miniatures with my son and talking about real life politics and all that. He writes, dude, people don't get canceled for SHITTY opinions. They receive consequences for their actions. You're right, being racist is not illegal. Getting fired from your job or being deplatformed from those beliefs isn't illegal either. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, that's true. I wrote, I guess we either believe in a free society or we don't. We either fight to uphold the core tenets of the Constitution or we don't. Free speech includes speech we don't like. Companies have the freedom to associate with whomever they want, with the exception of, things like DEI initiatives, like the board of the CEO has to be half and half women and men, and you have like diversity hiring. That's not hypocritical at all. So you're absolutely right. They're free to associate with whomever they want. But the idea that someone would advocate for the circumvention of due process, like really, what is cancel culture? Someone says or does something we perceive, and he gets on Twitter or whatever, and we all jump on him, and next thing you know, he's getting fired from his job and ostracized from society. And Russell Brand, remember, they accused him of the sexual stuff, and before he even had his day in court or a chance to defend himself, they were calling to cancel him and deplatform him. And it's like, whoa, what happened to due process? Now, if he was guilty of that stuff, absolutely consequences. If you do something illegal, you do something to harm another person. But one of the core tenets of this country is due process. It's one of our major advancements in Western civilization, in the free world. This grand experiment that we're running here in America is that you are presumed innocent until proven guilty. And what we're calling for with cancel culture is immediately just get them. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see any due process, especially if it's somebody that's ideologically in opposition to you. And I told him, I said, wanting to circumvent, due process is really Orwellian. It's a very dystopian viewpoint that is the antithesis to the words enshrined in our great Constitution. Freedom comes with a responsibility, and that includes standing up for it. And I find it ironic that the side of the aisle that claims, that we're going to be the death of democracy. What do you hear with this Trump thing? It's like, oh, he's going to end democracy. He's going to end democracy. What is democracy? First of all, we're not a democracy. We're a republic under the rule of law. So we basically elect people to speak for us, and we follow the laws. That we are not a democracy. A democracy is mob rule. But for the people that, when you say democracy, I'm assuming you're talking about a free society. And yet that side of the aisle is it's the most tyrannical thing I've experienced in all the years I've been on this planet. And this is not the country I swore an oath to defend. I did swear an oath to defend the Constitution, and that's exactly what I'm standing up for. So, the Constitution guarantees free speech, but if you're on a place like Twitter or Facebook or YouTube, is free speech a real thing? Because it's not, they're owned, are they publicly or privately traded companies, and you could make the argument that they can pick and choose what their rules are, and we agree to those rules when we sign those huge agreements those terms that we all get when we enter a new platform. But you could make another argument that because what's the term they use, town square, it's the place where everybody does get together to hold conversations. And if you want the government to be involved to enforce the things you want them to, but you can't pick and choose. You know what I mean? It's either all or nothing. And if that's the case, then they really should be protecting free speech too. All I'm saying, my whole argument is like, I'm not cool with people being racist. I'm not cool with people threatening violence. I'm not cool with people, being extremists. But I will tolerate their right to speak their mind and have their opinions, because we have to protect all speech, even if it's speech we don't like. And then if somebody says something crappy, then it's our right and duty to speak against it. And that's why we have these discussions, because bad ideas get exposed, they get mocked, they get ridiculed, and then they go away. And we're not doing that. That is not what we're doing. We are the antithesis of free speech. The censorship, and then you get these, like, I don't know if they call them like steelman arguments or whatever. They say, like, well, they've been doing it since the 80s. So what? Who gives a shit? Like, that wasn't right then, it's not right now. Just because they were doing it back then means we should continue to do it? Is that your argument? I don't know. You get that a lot. Well, they do it too. Yeah, well, they're wrong too, dumbass. I should say, when I said dumbass, I'm not talking about you, the person commenting here. I'm generalizing. All right, next comment. Mega Ladiesman 1234. Mega Ladiesman. Cancel culture started in the 80s and 90s with the religious right, not in 2016 with the left. Don't buy into the nonsense grievance politics the right is deep in. The reality you live in, a liberal democracy, and everything anyone has in modern society is due to liberalism. If your issue is hardcore progressives, then so be it, but that doesn't exactly torch liberalism itself. A bit shocking hearing you parrot patently false shit like the left is bringing people in just for the votes. It's hard to even parse this sentence without means it's suggesting. And don't sell yourself short. You're not a moron and clearly thoughtful person. Trump, on the other hand, is a moron, and it only takes a minute of listening to him to speak to realize he's peddling lies to latch on to aggrieved voters. Buying into his crap is akin to signing a death warrant for society as it stands. Well, let's do the Trump thing first. Trump's a populist, you know what I mean? And whether you agree with him or not, like, a populist is going to do what a populist does, and he's going to latch on to aggrieved voters, like you said. That's why I've always stated I don't really back a president. Like, I've never been a cult of personality type. I don't believe that that if you vote hard enough, some magical savior is going to come and change everything. Our system's not even set up for that. That being said, the policies that Trump pushed are way better than what we're pushing now. I mean, if I hear one more time them trying to stick like gender politics into legislation, I mean, I actually read I didn't read the entire thing, but I read a large portion of the the Anti-Inflation Act, or whatever the hell they called it. Yeah, was it the Anti-Inflation Act? Is that the name of it? Oh, it was a cute. Good Lord, what was publicly available? And they tried to shoehorn a bunch of initiatives into it that had nothing to do with inflation. I can tell you that right now. And this huge push for this gender stuff, that's the tip of the iceberg. The whole Ponzi scheme that we have with Ukraine and all that. This is what I can tell you. Like I keep telling everybody, I made the most money I ever made when Trump was president. I made the least money I ever made as soon as Biden got elected. Like, he just literally, my savings was wiped out. And I think under Trump, it's not that he's going to do a lot of good for the country, but he's not going to do any more damage. You know what I mean? He's going to probably put the border on lockdown, which is something I think we need. And I don't have to worry about all this DEI crap being shoved down my throat for 4 years. That being said, I don't know. Cancel culture started in the mid-'80s and '90s with the religious right. I remember Tipper Gore and that whole censorship thing. The thing is like, I don't know if you could really call that cancel culture, because they weren't taking people's ability to provide for themselves away. Like, if there was somebody they didn't like Marilyn Manson, sure, they would accuse him of devil worship and slap a parental advisory thing on his CD, which actually caused more sales because that's the albums we wanted to get. But did we stop him from being able to make music? No. I mean, there was just a lot of saber rattling and rhetoric being thrown around. People weren't losing their abilities to provide for themselves. It wasn't like Facebook started in 2005, and I would say right around 2010 is when I started noticing that if you had the wrong opinion on Twitter, the mob would come after you. And that didn't exist in the 80s and 90s. Like, none of this stuff did. Like, the way we share information, it's just not even comparable. I was a tech guy. I was a network administrator, a Microsoft certified system engineer. So I got my start in technology at the beginning of the internet. I was doing like networks for small businesses. And I was building computers. I did a lot of coding. I was a computer nerd, and so I was there. I was knee deep in the internet, and I got to see it evolve into what it is now. And what it is now is it's an abomination. I don't even get on Twitter at all. Like, I would never put an opinion on Twitter. It's just, and you're right. So I 100% agree with you with the definition of liberalism. Yes, progressives. That is the issue. But the problem with this argument is that the two the terms have been convoluted. So it's the meaning behind it, the common parlance. If we're going to go by definitions of what things should be called, because I would be considered a classic liberal, 100%. But that's when you hear the word liberal, that's not what people think of. No, they think of like these crazy progressives with, look, you can be pedantic and call out definitions for what they should mean, but I'm speaking to what they are being used for. So, that's really what I'm going to say about that. I mean, it patently false. I don't know. We were reading some reports, and they got the sanctuary cities in California, which is pretty close to where I live. The way the seats in the House work is it goes by census. So the more people you have, the more representation you get in Congress, and that's kind of a new way of doing gerrymandering. And it's absolutely been proven that they were registering people to vote that had no legal right to. I mean, you say that patently false. No, I mean, I guess it depends on where you get your news. See, a lot of people, they get their news from mainstream media. You know what I mean? CNN, MSNBC, Fox. They don't get online. They don't research. They don't get on Reddit. They don't look at articles. They don't look at blogs. They don't cross-reference anything. They don't actually look stuff up. We dig deep. And it's like all this stuff that I'm talking about, I've seen firsthand. I'm not making stuff up. I'm not parroting things that I saw in like a Tim Pool video. That might be where I got the idea to look into something, but you can best believe I do my research, and it is absolutely proven that California especially has been using illegals to vote for quite some time. Why do you think that the whole thing about voter ID was even an issue to begin with? When they said that it was racist for us to call for people to prove themselves who they are when they vote, and they were saying, no, you don't need a voter ID. That's racist. Why? Why is it racist? What was that whole argument about? It was about people that had no right to vote being able to. Just going to the ballot and voting, whether they had the right to or not. I mean, that's exactly what's happening. It's exactly what's happening. Now, whether we can make the argument, like, if you come across the border, that whether or not you just instantly become a Democrat, like, I don't know if that's happening. But you can best believe that that's the intention, especially when they're giving these people benefits I can't get. Benefits from the state so that they can survive, like food stamps and I don't even know what they call it, welfare. They're getting those benefits, and we can't apply for them. We don't qualify for them, and that's all to get them on the side of the party. Like, there's no other reason than that. I mean, And if that's not the agenda, then what is? Why would they have the borders open the way it is? Why are they letting people just flood this country? And the numbers that they're doing so, it's terrifying. And on top of that, we're getting a lot of people from China, and we're getting a lot of people from the Middle East. And there's some really concerning things that are going on down there. I think we need to secure the borders immediately. I think that should be our first priority, to be honest with you. Oh, we could talk about this one for a long time. I mean, there's a ton of stuff that's involved with that, and it even goes to like my good friend from Canada who's trying to get his wife into this country legally, and he hasn't been able to do so in over a year. I told him just drive her down to Mexico and have her cross the border. You know what I mean? They'll probably set her up with a freaking apartment. I don't know. Dude, the whole thing is a mess. I don't know, but I agree on your definitions and your talking points. I disagree with it being patently false and shocking, because it's like it just tells me you get your news from a very narrow bandwidth and you're not actually looking at other news outlets or researching anything. That sounds rude, and I don't mean it to be, but I mean. All right, this next comment is a bit of a long one. It's Tim Reeves. I'd be considered a lefty. Being disabled and reliant on the state will do that to you. But I can see your heart is in the right place. But I did have some things I wanted to bring up. I Googled Blizzard for Fire for Trump donation and found absolutely nothing. I did find that Blizzard hired part of the Trump administration team as a CEO, though. We could Brian Bellato, yeah. And surely you believe a private company should be free to hire or fire anyone for pretty much anything short of racism and sexism. Yeah, I know that's the argument, especially the libertarians are like, well, they should be able to fire them if you want. But I was kind of using that as an example of cancel culture. Let me see here. So, was it Mike Ybarra? I believe it was Mike Ybarra or not Bobby Kotnick. He was fired because he was sexually assaulting people in the office. Activision Blizzard, former Blizzard employee claims fire. You know what? I'm having trouble finding it myself. Eric Covington. Possibly. So I'm gonna have to get back to you on that one. And I really should have looked that up before I responded to this comment. I'm sorry. And you can see how but I'll look into that. Because if I'm wrong, I saw it on an Asmongold video and in a Nerdrotic. So it was two places I saw that, and they were talking about it. Both of them are video game channels. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're not spreading disinformation, but I do trust those two. They're usually pretty good about their sources. And you can see how the media is shoving left-wing politics down your throat. He has it in quotes, because that's how I said that. Is as natural as a Texas gun show shoving right-wing politics down your throat. Think of the majority of the kids that were interested in acting, writing, playing, etc., at school, and what politics they may wish to support. Media corporations in the USA are, again, private companies, not the state, who should have a duty of impartiality, or at least giving equal representation to both sides, such as BBC in the UK, who they get more than a couple of complaints of bias in their programming. Then there's this investigation done by an independent contractor. Private companies are also beholden to their shareholders. That is a huge problem, because they don't give a crap about the creative process at all. As a matter of fact, as soon as most of these companies go public, it's pretty much the end of anything that you knew in the past. If creating divisive programming, pushing an agenda creates higher viewership, then that's what's going to happen. That's the problem. It's not. All of them are tanking across the board, and comically. I mean, I don't think that's argument. Like, that's, I don't. You can just look at Disney's ratings and see that they're doubling down, man. That's the thing, is that you think because they are hemorrhaging so much money. this is what I found in my limited research. They don't care about the money because they're getting funding. Like a lot of them are funded by these companies like BlackRock, and in order to get that funding, they have to push this agenda. That's part of the carrot they're dangling. It's like, you need to include this stuff. So a lot of it is, I don't even think that they care personally. They're just doing it because that's where they're getting the funding. Because if they cared about money, they would have stopped doing this a long time ago, because they're hemorrhaging money. I don't know where they think, I don't know if they think they're going to be able to reprogram us or something. But the fact of the matter is you know, what is it, 96% of the population is normal breeding couples. You know, like, we're just not ever going to be gay or trans, sorry. So why are you pandering to them? You know, like, and a lot of people are under the misconception. They did a recent poll. I need to find the link to that. It was almost funny. There was people that thought that 30% of the country was LGBT, and you would think so if you, by watching TV. Because creating a divisive programming agenda creates higher viewership, and that's what's going to happen. As a libertarian, you should support this. Pushing for ideological limitations by the state is much closer to socialism or even communism. So I want to be really clear on this. One, I'm not a libertarian anymore. Two, I am totally against the government saying anything, or having anything to do with media, or saying what has to be pushed or what doesn't have to be pushed. But the problem is we're actually a lot closer to fascism, because we have a merger between corporation and state, and it's actually the corporations that have the power, and they're the ones that are pushing all this stuff down our throats. All you have to do is just click on anything, Marvel, Disney, Paramount Plus, Max, HBO, and look at any of the shows, all of them. I can't think of a single show that I've watched, and I haven't seen every show, but every single one I've watched has like some sort of an agenda message front and center, at the expense of good storytelling and good writing. So, you know, they're not even taking the time to write stuff that's interesting, and they attack the fans when we speak out against it, or share an opinion. They say that we're the problem. I don't know. There's currently 120,000 children awaiting to be adopted in the USA. Only 95,000 adoptions per year. I was adopted, incidentally. There was 650,000 abortions in the USA in 2021, and if even only 20% of those ended up as orphans, then the number of unadopted children would grow exponentially. And at the same time, the number of adoptions per year is falling. If we lived in an imaginary world where there is a shortage of orphans, then I can imagine your views on Planned Parenthood could be better substantiated. Surely, having been an orphan yourself, you would hate to see the number of permanently unadopted children skyrocket. Well, okay, so the reason why this is a very nihilistic viewpoint. So you're looking at numbers, and you're assigning numbers to kids, right? You're saying, wow, this poor kid, he's going to be in the system, and we're predicting the future for them. You know, I was thrown away by my parents, and luckily I was fortunate enough to get adopted by parents that took care of me, and I had my battles along the way to get to where I am, and all the struggles I went through to get to this place, and all I can tell you is thank God I had a shot. There's a lot of kids that grow up in the system that go on to do great things, and we're predicting the future for them. You know what I mean? You just don't know. You don't know. Who are we to say what life should be snuffed out because that kid's not going to have a chance? You don't know. You just don't know. We don't have that kind of control, nor would I want it. You know, if God deems that life should exist, then let it be, and it's gonna do what it does. And it might have a battle in front of it. It might have the shittiest childhood. It might grow up to be an artist, a musician, an astronaut. You know, an astronaut or president. You don't know. You just don't know. It could be It could be an entrepreneur that creates the next thing that makes the world a better place. Or maybe be a miserable person that dies alone. It would have been better if they were aborted. But I'm not going to try to predict the future for somebody. And yes, the statistics are horrible, but it's a really, really nihilistic viewpoint to reduce the lives of children down to statistics. uh, that's where the individual is lost in this conversation. It's like we're all assigned to these boxes. You are white, you are black, you are rich, you are poor, you are, whatever box you fit in. Those are that's what we're going to judge you by, and we're going to catalog you, and we're going to put you on a shelf, and we're going to act accordingly. No, man. Some kid is born, and he wasn't aborted, and he was given to the state, and it might be an uphill battle his entire life, but you just don't know what that person's going to go up to accomplish. And, all my sisters were adopted, and I'll tell you what, I'm pretty sure, even though they don't like me very much, because they're all friggin' socialists, with the exception of Shannon, love you, girl, I'm pretty sure they would all agree that they're pretty happy they had a shot, too. We did not have a fun childhood. I'm going to tell you right now, we grew up in a pretty abusive situation, and you could easily make the argument that we would have been better off dead. But we made it through that part. What does life get better? No, there's ups and downs along the way, and you find joy. To say that life is meaningless is patently false. To say that life is nothing but struggle is patently false. To say there's no joy, is patently false. There's no such thing as it's not always struggle, it's not always happiness, it's a mix of everything, and you have to take things as they come, you know what I mean? Now you can get into that nihilistic mind state, and you could refuse to find joy, and you could focus on all that's bad, but it's all perspective, I don't know, did we touch on everything? I think, Tim, you sound like a guy I wouldn't mind hanging out with. I bet you we'd have some pretty good conversations. And I hope that this isn't the last time we talk. Well, I'd say this video is getting on long in the tooth, so I better wrap it up. I'm going to start doing illustrating again now that my hand's working. Might even do some more tonight. I've got a ton of footage to go through. We did manage to get a little bit, tiny bit at the boxing gym. And I got a whole bunch of stuff that, all the footage that's in this video is like a day or two behind. So I'm trying to catch up. I've been banking footage of workouts and stuff so that I have things to pull from if I ever have to take an off day. I love the comments, guys. Absolutely love them. They're really, really thoughtful. And you guys are keeping me on my toes. You're making me realize, if I say something, I better know exactly what I'm talking about. And I really try not to say anything I don't believe to be true. But I'll be honest with you, when I was looking for some of the stuff to support my claims, I was having difficulty. I'm like, well, I know I read that. I'm 100% certain of it, and yet I couldn't find it either, and I had to do some digging. So in the future, when we're talking about things, I'm going to try to post links to articles that I've read, things of that nature. I never really envisioned my channel focusing on this kind of stuff. It's not really what I want to talk about, but it seems to be like what we're embroiled in these days, and it seems like it's infecting every facet of my life, whether it's lifting, whether it's, tabletop gaming, whether it's taking my kids to the movies. I just want to, they want to see a new movie, and I gotta kind of screen it to see what kind of ideology they're pushing, that kind of thing. It's the schools. Oh my God, yeah, they have an initiative in California where they're trying to make mandatory, gender studies from kindergarten to 8th grade. Can you imagine trying to teach a kid? It just blows me away. If you live in California, you care about your children, you need to get the hell out of that state. That's all I'm going to tell you. Nevada, we had this tendency to, whatever California enacted, you could start to see creeping in Nevada. So it's one of those things where it's like a canary in the coal mine. So you had to keep an eye out on what California was doing, because they're going to be pushing it here soon. And we're seeing it here too. And we go to the school board meetings, and we talk to the teachers, and we try to get ahead of it. And most importantly, we talk to our kids. So we try to explain to them what these things are, so when they do start pushing them, they have the ability to think for themselves. I am not going to tell my kids what they should or shouldn't believe. I'm just going to simply present the facts as I see them. And and I'll let them know what my opinion of it is. And yeah, you could say that's a bias for sure, but like everything I do is in good faith, and I wouldn't do it if I didn't believe it was the right thing to do. That's pretty much it. It's like, I try to present. I don't know. I guess most of us believe what we say. I guess we think that we're doing the right thing and we're speaking the right thing. And that's where you get the two sides where they just can't believe the other believes what they do. Like, how could you believe that? And they look at us like, how could you believe that? And I think somewhere in the middle, as long as we're both talking to each other, that's actually okay, because it kind of fosters a balance. And what we're missing right now is that where we come together and have these discussions. And so far, you guys have been pretty cool about your discourse. You disagree with me, but you've done so in a way that's been inviting to have conversations about it, and that's exactly what I'm looking for. So, if you got any comments, drop them on me. Until then, I love you guys, and I'll see you on the battlefield. Yeah, we're going with that.